Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is Dynamics 365 Project Operations, Sales, and Inception. My name is Erin, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the attendee list. By joining, you are agreeing to this experience. The recording will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions during today's session, and if time, there'll be a live Q&A at the end. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Satish Panwar, Senior Program Manager. And helping us through Q&A today will be Mark D. Degier and Martin Walker, Senior R&D Solution Architects. Satish, over to you to kick things off.
Thanks, Erin. Hello and welcome everyone to today's Tech Talk on Dynamics 365 Project Operations, Sales, and Inception. My name is Satish and I have co-presenter as Mark and Martin here with me today. Before we get started, I want to share with you our Dynamics 365 implementation guide, which contains a wealth of information gained from our collective experience across thousands of implementations, Dynamics implementations. Download it today from aka.ms/D365 implementation guide for detailed insight into how your implementations can incorporate success by design. Objectives for today's Tech Talk is we plan on reviewing the sales processes that are available within project operations. We will also be reviewing pricing and costing in great detail. These processes are reviewed in context of a resource or non-stop deployment, like a integrated deployment of Dynamics 365 project operations. What we are not going to cover today is deployment considerations, data migration patterns, comparison with other apps, technical details, and licensing. From an agenda perspective, we'll have lead to opportunity process, opportunity sales process, pricing and costing, a lot of details around pricing dimensions and how you can leverage pricing extensions with a good demonstration as well. In the end, we have compiled a lot of resources for you guys as well. Here is a quick reference to architecture diagram for Dynamics 365 project operations. We have covered this in great detail in our previous Tech Talk, and links are available in the resource section as well. Another high-level representation of how project operations enable lead to cash and record to report level 0 business processes. Please refer to our previous Tech Talk that covered demonstration of these business processes from beginning to end. Today, we are going to talk about sales capabilities around projects. Project operations support sales capabilities all the ways from prospecting phase to winning a contract. Project operations allow you to capture a lead that you may have obtained from different mediums, maybe like call list, marketing campaign, call, or any other medium, which can then be qualified to create opportunity. Then we work on opportunity to develop it through quotation estimates to finally win the contract. When it comes to opportunity and tracking opportunities, the integrated deployment of project operations is built on D365 sales. So all capabilities that are in sales for opportunity management accrue to project operations as well. Separate licensing to Dynamics 365 sales is not required to track project-based leads and opportunities. And here is a quick snapshot of different processes that are enabled during sales and inception process, configurations required, data entities that you may want to utilize if you are integrating or importing data from external system. When we look at the overall business processes, There is lead to business, lead to opportunity sales process and opportunity sales process. That will be our focus for today. Next, let's review lead to opportunity sales process in project operations. A typical lead to opportunity sales process flow starts with lead creation, which can then be qualified into an opportunity. We can further develop the opportunity to add more information on the work involved, capturing key stakeholders and competitors. Code can then finally be developed and proposed based on internal approvals processes, and finally win the contract to close the deal. The lead to opportunity sales process in Dynamics 365 is configurable and can be configured via business process flows. Here is a quick representation of lead to opportunity sales process. Here you have options to define steps that are required at a particular stage, number of stages required. These business process flow are backed by tables and data hours. Business process flows also allow you to define business rules for different states, and those rules or conditions needs to be met before you can move to the next stage. So what you see on the screen is a snapshot from project operations, which is completely configurable, and you can set it up so that you can use it based on your business requirements. Here is a quick snapshot of lead record in Dynamics 365 project operations. The process of lead management includes creating work-based leads and qualifying those leads. Next, let's review the entire lead to opportunity sales process through quick demonstration in project operations. So here I have launched the project operations environment. I'm on the Dataverse side, or the customer engagement side. In the sales section, in the left navigation pane, we can look at all the leads here. So this page will demonstrate all the leads, and the lead of list that will be shown by default are only work-based leads. If you have multiple applications installed like sales or field service, you may have other type of leads in the system as well. So if you want to only view the project-based lead, you can create a filtered view on type value and set it to work-based. Let's go ahead and create a new lead. Here we can specify the topic, which is the topic that will be copied over to the project codes, opportunities, and contract if you win the deal as well. This is a quick summary of what the deal is about. And you may notice that when we hover over these labels, we can also see a quick description of what information does that field capture. So here, quickly put in the topic. This is a very important field, so make sure that this is always set to work-based if you plan on qualifying it and work through projects on that specific lead. Similarly, if you are integrating from external systems, if you are bringing in leads, just make sure that this is set to work-based as well. We can specify the names. To specify the last name of the contact. And also put in the job title, business phone, email information. Other fields to pay attention to is the company. This is the company which is contracting with this, contracting with this specific lead. So in this case, considering we're an integrated deployment, we have already set up the dual right, and now we have these legal entities coming in from FNL. Then we can specify the account name. So if we do end up winning this deal, then what would be the customer name? And we can specify a lot of other information here as well. We'll go ahead and save it. That's the only information required. We still have an option to capture a lot of additional attributes. Now, once we have captured the details, it's up to us if we want to, depending upon how we are progressing in the sales cycle, whether we disqualify qualify this lead. So here we can click on disqualify, and there are a bunch of options that have already been provided. If we cannot connect with the lead, or the lead is no longer interested, etc., we can disqualify. But in this case, let's go ahead and qualify the lead. When we qualify the lead, there are few records that gets created behind the scenes, and it's important to understand what those are and how we leverage them on a go forward basis. So the first record that gets created is an account is being created, which is based on that account name field or the customer name field. Then a contact is being created as well, which is based on the first name and last name that you have specified. And the third record that gets created behind the scenes is the opportunity, which has now the field automatically work type field set to work based, which means now we can work on that opportunity and work with projects as well. Once the lead is qualified, the opportunity page is opened by default. Here we can look at the account field that got created. So right now the account name is not there. We don't know whether it's going to be customer, etc. So by default, we do not create or populate all the fields. We'll come back and see what's the impact if these fields are not filled in. We'll go back. Here we can click on develop stage. And let's say if you have identified the stakeholders, we can just add them here. If you have identified the competitors, we can add it here as well. So let's just go ahead and mark them as complete. Now what we can do is we can start building details of this opportunity. So we can go to the opportunity lines. And here we can create new opportunity lines. In this case, we are going to just add them manually. So I can click on add new opportunity. We can quickly put in what we are going to do as part of this opportunity. So let's say, we have installation that we are going to do, and the customer budget for that is $4,000. And we also need to specify the billing method. How are we going to bill it? Whether it's going to be time and material or whether it's going to be a fixed price. So let's say for installation component, it's a time and material. We can go ahead, save and close. Let's go ahead and create another opportunity line as well. And in this case, we also want to capture expenses as well. And let's say in this case, we are expecting that our expenses would be approximately $1,000, and it's going to be a fixed price. Now we can go back to the quote tab, and let's say if you want to develop a quote. So here, if we click on new quote, we will run into an error message stating that the customer relationship type must be customer. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the account and populate the account number as well as set it up to relationship type as customer before we can proceed with building a quote. So let's go back to our summary. From here, we can click on account field and it will take us to the account. Here you can see that we have not specified the relationship type. Now, the moment we select the relationship type as customer, another new field will be available here, which is customer group, because we are in the integrated or the resource and non-stock deployment mode. I'll go ahead and select customer. Now customer group ID is populated. We can select a customer group, which is coming from Dynamics 365 Finance side. And then we can also put in the customer ID as well. In this case, we'll just use it as demo 8 customer. Let's go ahead, save and close. What it does behind the scenes is now we will have this customer available here as well. And this is Dynamics 365 Finance. So here we can see right now the demo 8 customer with the customer name and the customer group that we've selected on the project operations has automatically been created. Let's go back to the opportunity. Now, if we go back to the quote, we can here click a new quote. And what it will do is it will copy all the information that we have captured on the opportunity automatically onto the quote lines as well. Once the quote is created, the screen will be opened for us by default. Here on this quote, now we can start to capture additional information. So here we can capture the requested delivery date. Let's say we are planning to deliver this by end of July. We can look at the quote lines. The quote lines are automatically created for us based on whatever was specified on the opportunity. We can look at the profitability analysis as well. And here for now, we can see that the total chargeable cost is $0 because we have not specified any kind of resources that will be consuming. So we really don't know what will be the consumption as far as these this project execution is concerned. So now what we can do is we can go back to the quote lines. Look at our installation. And let's go ahead and add some time that will be required in order to complete this installation. So we can go to quote line details. Add new quote line detail. Here we have different options. We can specify description. There are a lot of fields that are available. But in this case, let's say we need a specific resource. So we need consulting lead. And we need that resource for 8 hours. You can see the unit price is locked in, which means we cannot specify it. It will automatically get populated based on the pricing that you have defined in the system. And we'll talk about it later in great detail. Let's go ahead, save and close. Now we do have an option. So when we are looking at a specific line, we do have an option if you want to look at the cost as well, what it's going to cost. So here on this screen, we can see what my sales price is and it automatically calculates the total. But if you also want to look at just at a line level, how much does this resource cost or this specific line cost? We can also look at open cost detail as well, and then it would give us the information right from the screen. So in this case, we can see the unit price per hour is $338. Let's go back and look at our other line, which is the expenses. There are a lot of attributes that we can define here as well. So here we can look at the invoice schedule as well. So here we can define the billing start date, when we want to start billing this, and we can also define a milestone as well. That way we know, when do we go about billing this $1,000, whether we are going to bill it one time or we can distribute it in multiple milestones as well. Let's go ahead and close it. Now, if you look at the quote lines here, now we can see just directly on the quote line that our customer budget was $1,000 and $4,000, and based on the information that we have specified, what it's gonna cost. So here we can see the extended amounts right here as well. What we can also do on the quote is also look at our profitability analysis as well. So here we can see the total chargeable cost is still 0. If we go ahead and recalculate it, now we can see that it's pulling in the resource cost and automatically pulling in, what it would be. Now, if you have multiple roles across multiple days, weeks, months, system will calculate all that automatically and give you an overall comparison of what your cost is going to be. Now, there may be times wherein certain roles or resources are non-chargeable, but you still want to capture that information as well. Quotes do allow you to specify, what roles are chargeable, what tasks are chargeable, and so on. And if something is not chargeable, then you can also see that non-chargeable cost here as well. Overall, you're able to see your total revenue and your total gross margin as well. And there are some nice graphs in here as well that kind of tells you over a time period, what is going to be a cost and what is the contract. And you can also see the associated cost. So if there are multiple resources, you can see by their role how much they are going to cost. We also have comparison to customer expectations. So I'll just go ahead and refresh the screen real quick. So here, again, a lot of different, graphs that can be extended or can be leveraged out of the box as well. That kind of tells you, what the customer budget is, what the quoted value is, and whether you are going to finish the project early or whether you are going to finish the project within the budget as well. We do have an option to specify customers as well. So by default, the customer that we specified on the opportunity automatically gets defaulted on the quote as well. But we do have an option wherein, let's say, the expenses are being paid by a different customer, and then, or there are multiple customers that will be paying for this installation. So we can define these customers here, and we have the option to determine the percentages as well, whether it's evenly distributed or one customer is paying for 80% and the other customer is paying for the 20%. We do have an option on the top to export to PDF if you want to print out this quote and kind of send it to the customers as well. Next, let's say that we have sent this quote to the customer and everything looks good. Now what we can do is we can mark this quote as won. So we can click on the step close as form. Once this quote is confirmed, then the project contract is created based on the information that we have specified here. And all the information that we have captured on the quote automatically gets copied over to the project contract as well. And from project contract, we can then create the project and we can get that project executed completely as well. So you may have noticed how the information that we have captured in the lead is moving all the way from lead to opportunity to quote to the project contract and finally to the project. So this is the project contract that got created. And here we can also see that the contract lines are there as well. Important point to note here is, the price lists have been coming in. What happens when a project contract is created, a snapshot of a price list is created and associated with the project contract when it's created. So this is a custom pricing directly for this specific contract. All right. Now let's go back to the opportunity. So if you need to look at the history, how this project contract was created, here we can see, oh, we already have the opportunity. So we can just click on this. And from here, we can, so this is the opportunity, we can just close this as phone as well. We can specify this, and let's say we got $5,000. We can put in any other information that's required and hit OK. So that kind of completes a quick demonstration of lead to opportunity business process. Let's go back to our presentation now. Next, we are going to review high-level opportunity sales process. If your organization's sales process starts with opportunity and not with leads, as we've reviewed during the previous process, you can leverage the opportunity sales process. The And if you start directly with opportunities, this opportunity sales process takes precedence over the lead to opportunity sales process. So based on your business requirements, you determine which business process you want to take on. Once the opportunity is created, qualified by identifying stakeholders, purchase processes, time frame, and other data aspects, code can be developed, which is similar to what we reviewed as part of our previous process, and opportunity can be closed. As we close the opportunity and won the quote, the project can be created, executed based on the project contract. Once the project is delivered, and the project can be closed to complete the entire opportunity sales process. Quick representation of how opportunity sales process is defined in project operations, and this process can be modified based on the requirements. So any steps that you want, any mandatory business rules that you want to define, any fields that should be mandatory before you moving to the next stage, all that is configurable as part of business process flows. Here is a view of opportunity record in project operations. Next, let's review how opportunity can be created and managed through a quick demonstration. So we can go to the sales section and go to the opportunities. Here we can create a new opportunity. So by default, if you are in project operations and creating this opportunity, automatically what happens is the opportunity is classified as work-based if you are creating this from the UX. But if you're integrating, just make sure that the type field is set to work-based as well. Here we can see the owning company that owns this specific opportunity, and also the important point to note is which division or which contracting unit is going to be owning this as well. And we have a lot of other fields. We can specify the currency, we can specify the price list. And once we have created the opportunity, we can qualify it. And here on the top, you can see, we have project contract and close. So this is a little bit different than what we've reviewed in lead to opportunity sales process. Here, you are basically tracking it all the way from opportunity creation to qualification to propose, and finally creating the contract and then closing the opportunity. Once the opportunity is created, the quote creation process, etc., is all similar. So we are not going to go through in detail. You can just follow the exact same steps that we have done in the previous demonstration as well. The only difference between the two, the starting difference between the two is that here you start with opportunity. In the previous business process, you start with a lead. Back to our presentation. Next, we want to look at project-based quotes. In our previous walkthrough, what we have done is we have reviewed how quotes can be created and estimated manually. However, there may be scenarios where you want to leverage the detailed functionality of projects to build your estimates and then estimate your cost based on whatever you specified in the project. Dynamics 365 Project Operations supports quotations that can be estimated based on projects. Here is a quick snapshot of how a quote looks in project operations. Next, we will go and take a quick look at project-based quote directly in the system. So here in the sales section, we can look at quotes. So right now we have not created any quote and we want to create a quote and want this quote to be based on a project. So for the demonstration, we have already created a project. So if I go to the project section, you can go to projects, and here is the project that we've created. So here we can see, the organizations have already been defined, the customers have already been defined, and we've specified or created, tasks that are required for this project execution. So we have multiple tasks, we have multiple roles that are defined here, and here, we will not go in too much in detail on what are these different tabs and what all you can do. But ultimately, once you have defined your resources, you have defined your expenses, we can look at the estimates as well. And these are the total estimates. So here we can see, we have, expenses, and we have, depending upon the roles, we have, the hours. We can look at the total price, and we can also flip this. So we can kind of look at it more from a sales perspective as well. And we'll be covering the project creation and different aspects of project creation in a separate tech talk. So for today's demonstration, we'll just leverage this project to build our code. In order to build a code, we will go back to the sales section and go back to code. Now let's create a new one. Here, let's name this as Sales and Inception demo code. Here we have to specify what customer it is. So we want to create this for Editum Corporation and hit save. For this code line, let's go ahead and create 2 lines, installation and expense, and enter, what's the customer budget that we have heard or we have known so far. So go ahead, click on new line. Installation is going to be time and material, and we can right now, let's not specify the project for a second. Go ahead and save it. And we can also specify the customer budget here as well. So let's say this is going to be $500,000. Here, now, if we go to quote line detail, you can see that we do have an option of new quote line detail. We don't have any association with projects, etc. What we can do is we can go back to the general tab, and here now we do have an option to specify a project. So we can just click on this, and we can select the project. Once the project is selected, here we also need to define what kind of data to pull up from the project for specific to this quote line. So considering this is just installation, and so we want only our time to be pulled in. So we'll go ahead and set expenses to nil. And here for the task, we want to include all the project tasks as well. Let's go ahead and save this quote line. Go back to the quote line detail. Now we can see here. So we do have an option of import from project estimation. We can click on it. Here we do get different options. If you want to summarize it by role or however you want to get it. So you feel free to try this out, and then we can click on OK to bring in the information from the project directly onto the code to import these transactions. So here now we can see that information that we have captured, the consulting leads and project managers, all that is coming in directly to the code as well. Let's go ahead and close it. Let's go ahead, create another line. And this one is going to be for expenses. This is going to be fixed price. And here we want to include expenses. So we will set time to know. Let's go ahead and specify, since we know in this case, what our project is, and we know what the customer budget is. In this case, it's $20,000. Go ahead, save the line. Go to quote line details. Here again, we can import from project estimation. Here, if depending upon whether you want to just bring all the expenses as one line, again, you can leverage these parameters. And here we can just say summarize by category. If we set it to yes, then it will come in different categories depending upon the expense category that you have defined. If you just select no, then it will just bring all the expenses as one. So in this case, we will set this to yes and click OK. So now we can see, we are bringing in different transaction categories of flight, meal, and mileage. Here we can look at the comparison. So all the functionality that we've reviewed previously with respect to code, how do we go about winning this, creating it into a contract, and then executing that contract remains the same. So it's just a different way of pricing your code. All right, let's go back to our presentation now. Next, we will review pricing and costing in project operations. Before we get into setting up of pricing, it is important to understand what parameters contribute to setting up pricing in project operations. First of all, we have organization unit. In D365 project operations, organization unit is a distinct group or a division in a professional service company that employs billable resources that and have specific cost rates. For professional services company that employ technical resources in different practice areas or business lines, the cost to fill a resource might vary depending upon either the practice area or the business line where the role is filled in. In this scenario, the concept of organization unit helps us provide a way to group a set of billable roles in a division of a company that has distinct cost structure for those roles. It is important to understand that organization unit and project operations do not interact with organization entity or business units in Dynamics 365 Finance. There is a detailed documentation published on the docs page specifically dedicated to organization unit. How do you go about creating one, and frequently asked questions with respect to business units or entity, or when you should be using organization entity within finance, and how organization units can be modeled as well. So here we can see that we have different organization units that's available in the system that we have created. As part of project operations parameter, we do have the option to define attributes we want to use to define the pricing. So pricing is very flexible in project operations. Project operations leverage concept of pricing dimensions, which are attributes of a transaction that let you define cost and sales price. Project operations let us define the pricing dimensions for amount based, so we can directly specify the dollar amounts or whatever the currency may be. We can specify the amounts, as well as markup based pricing as well. So in certain scenarios, let's say if you want to mark up the price by 10%, 20%, 30%, so we can define those percentages as well. And then priority is another important factor that is played when the price is being determined, and we'll look into that as well. So here I'm in the parameter section, and on parameters we have amount based pricing dimension. So whatever dimensions you see here, so in this case, we have MSTYN underscore resource category, which is the role. So here we are saying, OK, we want cost to be based on the roles, and we want our sales to be based on this role as well. And then we can define the individual opportunity. So depending upon how you are defining the price, so let's say you have resource category and resource company. If you define pricing at both levels, in one record only resource category is defined, in another one resource category and resourcing company. So that's where the sales priority, what you have defined here, kind of starts to take precedence in order to determine that the price for the transaction. Dynamics 365 project operations ships with default set of pricing dimensions. You can view these pricing dimensions by going into project operations parameters. The role, so in this case, the MSDYN underscore resource category and the resource organization unit, which is the MSDYN underscore organization unit. These are the default dimensions. If you plan on using them, if you don't plan on using them, don't delete these default dimensions. Instead, just set applicable to sales and cost to no, and then pricing won't be set up or based on these specific pricing dimensions. There are organizations that may be small and may need to price their price list or their resources based on the actual resources. In that case, you can just add new amount-based pricing dimension called MSDYN underscore bookable resource. So these are the names that goes actually in that field in the parameters, and we've just provided a quick view of what it looks or what it means more from a business relation perspective as well. There are a lot of other pricing dimensions that you can utilize. You can refer the actual tables within Dataverse to get an idea of what other fields are available as well. Project operations based companies often use employees from different legal entities and different divisions within the legal entity to work on projects. Projects can be executed from a certain legal entity and division, while the employees or consultants that work on the project come from either the same legal entity or a division or even a different one. The projects could be made from a combination of people from different legal entities divisions. So it's important to understand the pricing structure of resource and expenses before pricing dimensions are set up in the system. Now, there are organizations where the out-of-the-box pricing dimensions may not meet their pricing requirements. For such organization, it may be required to add additional pricing dimensions to define the price list. We will cover this later in the presentation and provide in-depth instructions on how customers partners can configure the new pricing dimensions. From pricing and costing perspective, we do have price list that can be set up in the system. And there are two types of price lists. One is cost rates and the second one is bill rates. And as the name implies, it determines what kind of price list it is. And these price lists can also be used to set up your transfer pricing as well. So just set up the pricing and it will automatically get pulled in based on the exchange rates. And we'll go through in detail on how that's set up in the system as well. Next, let's look at the pricing and costing demonstration within project operations. So here I'm in the sales section, and in the sales section, we can look at the price lists. So here we have US cost rates at the bottom. Let's look at this one. So a couple of important things here when we are setting up a price list. One, the name, so that you know what the price list is being created for. The context is very important field, which determines whether it's a cost or whether it's a sale. And then the date effectivity. Whenever in the main price list, we can have multiple price lists, overlapping dates, etc. But when they are being assigned to either parameters or to an account, contract, quote, there are a whole lot of different places where we can define this or attach this price list. At there, we cannot have price lists which are overlapping with each other. So the concept of date effectivity is at a price list level within project operations. Next, we can look at the role prices as well. So here is how we define our role prices. So here we can specify. So in this case, if we just look at that first row, we can see that if we are going to be consuming or specifying a consulting lead, in the USPM, in the resourcing company USPM for resource unit Contoso Software US, the price is going to be $304. And here, if we just look at lead. So here you can see that we have specified the consulting lead across multiple divisions and how those resources can be different. Here is another example wherein it's the same role, same resourcing company, but based on the division that these resources are coming from, the pricing can be completely different. Similarly, we can define the role price markup as well. Next, let's go back and look at the US bill rates. So similar concept. Here, important point to note is that the currency that you specify on the header, so in this case, US dollar, this will be the default currency for any role prices. You do not have ability to change that currency. For the cost price list, you can set it up in different currencies, and system will automatically convert it based on the exchange rate that are defined in the system. Important point to note here is that based on the pricing dimensions that we have defined in the system, you cannot leverage the same pricing dimensions to specify a different pricing as well. So let's say in this case, we have, let's say if our pricing dimensions are, role, resourcing company and resourcing unit, even though unit is not part, but we still cannot specify another record here for, let's say, unit day for a same combination. It needs to be defined at a pricing dimension level. Now you do have an option to define whether you want to define your price as hourly or whether you want to define your pricing as day as well, depending upon how your unit conversions are set up, and system will automatically resolve the dimension price that's specified on the quote or the contract. Let's go back to our presentation. So provided a quick snapshot in terms of what we just covered and some of the important considerations from a price list perspective. Now, how do you price list get resolved within project operations? So let's say we are creating a project quote, and now we are talking specifically about the sales price determination. How will it get determined? So if you're creating a project quote, then first it looks at, is there a price list defined at an account level? If there is one, then that gets utilized on the project quote and the process is stopped there. The price list, whatever price list is in there, it will just get used. If there is no price list defined at an account level, then system will check at the project operations parameters level. So whatever price list is defined there, it will automatically pick it up. From a project contract perspective, what happens is the sequence is a little bit changed based on how that contract has been created. So if the contract has been created from a quote, then if quote has a price list, it will automatically get copied over and will be a custom price list on the project contract. The same goes for, if there is none on the quote, then it will look at the account. If there is none on the account, then it will look at the project operations parameter as well. Do you know if pricing dimension combination price is not set up on the price list that gets resolved, it will result in $0 prices on the sales price or cost price. So make sure your prices are set up appropriately in the system. Now, once we have determined the price list, so first determination is price list. When you have determined the price list, then it goes to the next level, which is then it will use the pricing dimensions to find out what price should be applicable for that specific transaction. From a cost price perspective, the system evaluates the contracting organization unit first. If there's a price list defined there, if there is none defined, then it will default to the project operations parameters. And again, once the cost price list is resolved, then it will use the pricing dimension, which is the role, resourcing company or resource division, and then other attributes to determine the price. Next, let's look at pricing dimension scenarios. So let's say we have a scenario wherein the customer have a requirement to configure the pricing dimensions based on the work location and working hours. So depending upon, if I'm working locally or if I'm working on site, the rates may be different. And then if I'm doing overtime, then there got to be additional markup percentage that should be applicable. So here's a quick representation of how we want our pricing to look like. So if a consulting lead works locally, the price is $100. But if working overtime, then percentage markup is 15%, which kind of takes the overtime price to $115. And when a consulting lead is working on site, the price is $150 with a markup of 20%. So the price comes to $180. Now, if your customer requires pricing dimensions that are not available out of the box, we have published an article that provides instructions in great detail on how you can create and set up a custom pricing dimensions. It's mostly configurations, and we have provided the link to the docs article as well. So you can go in and follow the instructions, and you will be able to build a custom pricing dimensions. Today's the scenario that you see on the screen is completely detailed in the documentation and has been built based on the instruction that have been posted on the docs page. Next, let's look at the pricing dimensions demo in the system. So here, what we have done is first we've gone to the once the pricing dimensions have been created in the tables underneath, we can go to the parameters. And here we can see that we have created a new amount-based pricing dimensions, which is new resource work location. If you go to the markup-based pricing dimensions, you can see that we have created a new markup-based pricing dimensions, and we are calling it as new underscore resource work hours. If you have created, you can click on new pricing dimensions and specify the values there as well. So previously we covered there were bookable resource and other pricing dimensions that we provided. So when you click on new pricing dimension, just make sure the name is exactly that MSDIN or whatever that field name is. Now, once the project parameters, so once the pricing dimensions have been defined here, what we can do is we can go back to the sales section. We can go to the price list, and here we have created US bill rate extension. So here we can define, it's a sales price. So our demonstration solely focuses on the sales price for today. We can define the start date, end date. We can go back to the role prices, and here you can see, how we have defined the prices. So we have just defined the prices as consulting lead for USPM company when a resource location is local is $100 and $150. If you go to the role price markups, here we have defined the markup percentage, and here for the local overtime is 15% and the on-site overtime is 20%. So once this is defined, so now we have defined our pricing dimensions. And based on the pricing dimensions, now we are able to define our bill rates as well. Now, what we can do is we can go back, we can look at our codes as well. So in this case, let's go back to the slides. So quick review of what we just reviewed in the system, role prices. So here is a quick view of how that code has been built in. So here, in this case, you can see here automatically when we create the code and add those lines. So depending upon on the resource location and type of hours, automatically the price have been populated. So we can see here, $100 and 15, and the markups are automatically applied as well. Then as we move through the project contract, so if the quote is won, we close the opportunity and the project contract is created, we automatically move it to the project contract as well. So here we can see all the information that have been copied over. But if there are additional lines that are created directly on the project contract line, it will automatically inherit the price list that we've specified, and we'll start to pull in the prices based on the combination of the resource location and the working hours in conjunction with the other pricing dimensions that we have specified, like resourcing company, role, resourcing unit, and so on. Now, so we have defined our rates. We have defined, or we have put in the quotes. We have won the quote. We have defined the contract. That helps more from an estimation perspective. Now, how will this get leveraged when the project is being executed? So the expectation is that when the time entries are being captured, the pricing dimension that you have defined previously, those fields are available here. If you want price to be based on those dimensions, you can have default options, and here we can we can see here when the time was entered, the resource actually specified, okay, I'm working regular hours or I'm working overtime, and the same goes for the resource resource location as well. So once the time entries have been put in and approved by the project manager, what happens is the actuals gets created in the system as well. So here, this is an actual associated view. So this is a view of a project wherein the time entries have already been created, posted, approved, and now we are looking at the actuals as well. So we can see how, building up that pricing dimension in the beginning, how setting up the pricing that helps in estimation, and then that estimation kind of helps in building these actuals as well. So the entire flow is really good, and the instructions are detailed on the docs page as well. Now, in this case, or in this demonstration, what we took was a very simple approach wherein we only had two values, local and on-site, or the other one is regular and overtime. There may be scenarios wherein you want to leverage tables wherein you can maintain data like rules. You can have consulting lead, you can have technician, or can be different set of rules, and you want users to have ability to add those roles or that data in that field, and wants to define pricing based on that field. So in that case, there are two different options. One is option based and one is entity based or table based. So again, the information is all available on docs. Feel free to try it out in your environments as well. We have also provided a lot of resources. Some of them are generic to help get you started with project operations, where you can go about knowing more, whether it's related to roadmap or knowing about fast track. And then there are articles specific to what we have covered today from a sales process perspective, pricing dimensions, links to previous tech talks. A few other useful links on the SLA compliance and support as well. And that kind of brings us to the top of the hour, and to the end of our presentation today as well. Erin, back to you. Erin, are you still with us?
Yep, sorry about that, guys. I was talking and didn't realize I was still on mute, so apologies for that. I had posted a survey in the Q&A panel. We would love to get everyone's feedback on today's session. Also, as a quick reminder, the recording will be available in about 5 business days on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and of course to the audience for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you may be.